If you've been watching the F1, you've definitely, you've been surprised as to how Max Verstappen smashed last week's race, right? Over the weekend. And, how basically Red Bull, I think they deserve this win, right? They got two podiums. Got two podiums at qualifying and then came out, with Max on the first, Lewis second, and then, talking about how McLaren got Lando's first podium. That I was really happy for the guy as well. But talking about the other teams now, if you're looking at someone like Lando Norris, or if you're talking about Aston Martin, these guys have a billionaire basically funding the team, and I mean, basically Lance Stroll is nothing like. I mean, uh, he's not the easiest person to work with, although he is funding the whole work, the whole operation when it comes to Aston Martin's performance. So the Canadian is basically featured in the Netflix documentary as well. Now, if you are a fan of F1, I bet you've watched Drive to Survive, right? So I'll be breaking down a little story on how Lance Stroll and how he came up in the business, how he's basically been pushing for where they are in as a company now, and how the team is doing, right? Right back after this video. That's right. We're Relax Radio. That's without the X, but K and S, right? RELAKS. So if you want to, reach out to us, reach out, join the conversation with us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. If it's YouTube as well, just feel free to, comment or just give us a call. I'm gonna put the number up here. It's 07852 473 473. It's 07852 473 473. So if you've been like a fan of F1, or if you are following Aston Martin, if you are following F1 in general, you are going to know who Lawrence Stroll is, right? So his son Lance Stroll is also racing. He is also in the F1 team, but this guy is basically a big figure in terms of how he has restarted the operation. And he I mean, they talk about how his brand has basically taken around a 500 million loss during the pandemic. And the pre-taxes losses were basically coming up to around 466 million. But from the earlier year, it came up to 120 million loss. Now, it's not the easiest for this guy, but we know that he's not giving a bad fight. So we know he's given a good fight because of the fact that he's investing with Mercedes, he's investing in partnerships for the engineering of Aston Martin. They are basically dominating now, and they're basically not I would say interrogating, but I'd say basically up and performing much better than they were before he came on board. Now he is a businessman, he is a billionaire for reasons, and I mean the way he is performing is looking at ROIs obviously, and then talking about how they are improving their skill, the team behind the pits, and even pushing for a different creative factor when it comes to the racing, right? So if you're keen on understanding how Lance Stroll basically came up to, the guy's about $2.6 billion worth, and I'd say that's around £1.8 million, but £1.8 billion. But then coming to the fact that he was on the business magazines of the billionaires 2020 list at 804, right? He was put 804th on the billionaires magazine. And then talking about how he made his money, he was primarily in the fashion industry. Now this guy was he bought Pierre Cardin, Ralph Lauren, and talking about his native clothing in Canada to the States, right? And then talking about how he invested in the designer clothes, Tommy, and then Michael Kors, helping him turn both of these into global brands as they are today. But in particular, I'd say the Hong Kong fashion tycoon. Now the guy's name is Silas Chu. Now they spearheaded Michael Kors and successfully pushed it to a public offering into 2011. But over the 3 years, he sold off his shares as the American brand, the American shareholder, and this is where a bulk of his fortune comes from. Now, if you are keen on, I mean, we know, we might talk about how Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are fighting for the first place, but then it's the owner of the Louis Vuitton brands that is the third richest person in the world. I mean, he's averaging around there with he's averaging around there with Warren Buffett and Mark Cuban, these guys as well. So if you are keen on understanding how he made his money, and where when he bought Racing Point. So his son is he himself is a racing is a petrol head, I'd say. And then his son's name, who's the guy's name, is Lance. Like I said, he's basically now involved in F1, and I think, I mean, let's say, just my opinion, right? He bought the team and he invested in at the perfect time. His son was ready to race in F1, right? So Lance basically bought over Williams. Williams was making a huge loss, year on year on year, and the initial team had to sell themselves. If you watch Drive to Survive, you're going to understand everything from head to toe and understand as to why Force India was put into administration the following year. But Lance Stroll basically led a consortium to buy it. Now, if you are to understand, from the 90 million pound, the purchase, and from the 50 million pound debt that to the loan providers, to the suppliers, to the sponsors, or even the rebranders, right? Now there was a ton of work that had to be done for the Racing Point purchase, but then as long as it was also conditional that Lance's son, Lawrence's son, who is Lance, right? It was also conditional that Lance basically started racing as well in the next season alone. Now this was this was, I'd say, a long shot. But if you watch the third season of Drive to Survive, now this was early 2020, right? The one of the first things a couple of the teams actually protested against Racing Point was the fact that they looked aesthetically, as similar as a race car, in terms of the aerodynamics, in terms of the production facility, in terms of the performance, and even their positioning on the race track, right? So these guys were actually coming to a point where they pushed for a productive, third place in one of the qualifier rounds. Red Bull came to the point of protesting against them. I mean, Red Bull is not the easiest team to impress. The Red Bull is not the easiest team to compete against because of all, I'd say, all of their competition and the amount of protests they put against other teams, right? So they have a healthy rivalry going on with, I'd say, Mercedes. But then if you're talking about how these guys are, Racing Point is performing much better than before. I'm really proud of them, and to understand where this guy comes from. I'd say I have a lot of respect for him. Now, if you guys are keen on understanding, how you can actually join the show, if you want to add your opinion, if you want us to continue a conversation around the show, around what you want us to talk about, just feel free to message us. Feel free to DM us. We are on Instagram, Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube. Just feel free to join the show. Your like I always say, this platform is a two-way conversation. Your opinion is always valued, right? And if you are keen on calling us, you can just call us up on 07852473473. Or if you want to contact us on Facebook, we go as Relaks Radio. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, like I said. So coming back to the story with Lance Stroll. Now, he basically talks about how he wants the first SUV model of the DBX. He wants to be involved in this as well, right? And this was his top priority, I'd say, in April 2020. And in February, Aston Martin revealed losses of around 500 million pounds. This was during the races. And then Lance Stroll led to an investment of 182 million investment for about a 20% stake in the company. Now, this also made him the executive chairman. So I'd say, there was around 1,500 DBX vehicles that had pushed to help sell revenues in the final quarter of the third year, right? So this definitely, now bringing into these results, I'm pretty sure Lawrence basically, pushed for a lot of his influence in the company. So talking about how this confirmed around 200 jobs that were at risk, and then talking about how he restored profitability. And this was against all the backdrop sales that were in 2020. So according to Forbes list, like I said, the guy is worth about 1.8 billion pounds, and he's at the mere 804th positions in the Business Magazine's billionaires list of 2020. Now, if you want to know, if you want to join a conversation like this, if you want this conversation to keep going on, just feel free to message me on this number below. It's 07852473473. This is the Buzz. My name is Tim. I'm on this is Relax Radio. I'm on the Buzz, and I'm going to make some space for my friend Nick. He's going to keep you updated with more conversations around real talk. And I'll be right back with you tomorrow, same time, same place, all the way till 3 p.m.